Marlo Stanfield and Franklin Saint are two fictional characters from my top 10 most popular crime drama television series. Of course, we're talking about The Wire and Snowfall. Now, both characters are portrayed as ruthless drug kingpins who will do whatever it takes to keep their power, wealth, and control. Now, when you compare the two, there are some similarities, but there are also some significant differences. And I think this is what makes both of these kingpins unique. It's your man parlowgems, and in today's video, I'm asking the question, who is the most vicious villain between Franklin Saint and Marlo Stanfield? Let's get into today's show as I make points for both of these characters. Let's start with Marlo. Now, Marlo Stanfield, as many of us know, is the leader of a criminal organization in West Baltimore in The Wire. He is known for his extreme violence, and Marlo is just straight ruthless. I mean, if you follow any of The Wire series, you know that Marlo don't play, aka Black. He is really about that life. He is very highly calculated and strategic in his business dealings and always keeps a low profile. Of course, when you talk about season 4, you see him changing to where he wants his name to ring out in the neighborhood, and he's giving out money to some of the school kids. And of course, that's for recruiting purposes. But Marlo is very guarded in his behavior, shows no emotions. He is ice cold, and he rarely deals with a lot of people, and whoever he deals with, he keeps them very close. Speaking of Chris, Ann, and Snoop, of course, Marlo is ambitious, and he wants to be the most powerful drug lord in Baltimore. And he's always looking for ways to expand his profits and increase his profits and expand his territory. He's detailed. He's meticulous. I mean, Marlo is really about his business. But one of the things that sets him apart, in my opinion, is that he is just vicious. He is just cold-blooded. Let me give you a few traits that I picked up from watching the series. And here's one argument why Marlo could be the most vicious villain between the two. Number one, Marlo is very calculating and strategic. I mean, you look at how he moves. He would barely want to meet with Stringer Bell. And even when he did meet with Stringer Bell, even when he did come to the table of the co-op, Marlo was always scheming. I mean, he was always scheming to try to one up on somebody. Look at his relationship with Prop Joe. I mean, Marlo was just very strategic. Number two, Marlo was just cold-blooded, man. He would kill anybody, and he did not care. I mean, he once, we know, killed a security guard who confronted him about stealing candy from a candy store. What about the young lady that he shot in the mouth and in both of her breasts? And that was the second one that he did, according to one of the police detectives in the show. Marlo would just kill anybody. Even though he was close with Chris, he threatened him when they were in jail, and he told him, hey, you willing to bet your life that your mans didn't snitch when he went to the police? Yeah, talking about Michael in that particular scene. Marlo was about blood. Even when he got out the game, we see that he couldn't stay away from the streets and he went back for the blood. You remember that last scene in season 5? Marlo turned the city upside down looking for Omar. I mean, he went to extreme lengths that Avon wouldn't go. Now, one thing I will say that's different, and I don't think it takes away from how wild Marlo was, but when you compare him to Franklin Saint, Marlo did listen to counsel. Franklin didn't listen to anybody. And so even though Marlo was ready to take certain people out in his journey to become king and wear the crown, we see that he did have some compromise to where he would listen to Vincent as well as to Chris. But when it was all said and done, Marlo had a way longer body count than Franklin. Both of them tore up their city when it came to dealing drugs, but just look at the body count that Marlo had as compared to Franklin. So I am definitely biased when it comes to The Wire. I think it was just a more premier and cutting edge series. But when you compare Franklin and you compare Marlo, like I said earlier, you see some similarities. But right off the rip, I think Marlo portrayed someone who was just very, very ruthless. And so what I want to do is I want to take some time now to look at Franklin Saint, because we see the progression of Franklin Saint over Snowfall through the 6 seasons that they had. And I'm not trying to take away from Marlo Stanfield, and I'm not trying to take a lot of time. So let's switch over now and let's take a look at Franklin Saint. And you guys make sure you tell me down in the comments section, who do you think was more vicious as a villain? So as we know, Franklin built his empire in South Central Los Angeles, and Snowfall was set in the early to late or mid 80s. Now, Franklin did show that, like Marlo, he was ambitious. I mean, just driven to get that money. Matter of fact, we would be right to say that Franklin was just straight up greedy. And if you watch the show, you know that's what was his downfall. It was his pride. But more on that a little bit later. Franklin was like Marlo in the sense where he was intelligent, but he didn't listen to anybody. He didn't listen to his mother. He didn't listen to his friend, Leon. He didn't listen to his girlfriend. I mean, Franklin was just really on himself. He really thought that he had it going on because he was making a few dollars. Now, Franklin had a conscience to me. He was a little more compassionate. We saw early on that he had a soft spot for his uncle, Uncle Jerome, and of course, Leon. We see that throughout the series, even though they had their ups and downs. But to me, when it came to Marlo, Marlo had no conscience. Marlo didn't care about anybody. I mean, he was just cold-blooded. Now, when it came to Franklin, in my opinion, just being ruthless, yeah, he had a body count. He threatened his uncle. He threatened Louis. He talked hard to his mother. He talked hard to his daddy, to Leon. You know, he had his girlfriend get hooked on crack. He sold drugs. He tried to kill Teddy. Even though he didn't follow through with it, he threatened Peaches. Actually, he ended up putting a bullet in Peaches and his crackhead friend. Yeah, I would say that Franklin was ruthless, but he just wasn't as cold-blooded at times, it seems like to me. Some would say he was similar to Marlo. And I don't know if I can agree with that. But Franklin was definitely wild. Franklin was definitely out there. And I think to me, he was more vicious to himself when you consider everything, more so than he was to anybody else. I mean, he really tore his own life completely up. Whereas Marlo, he just ripped to shreds everybody else's life. At least that's what I kind of see when I look at it. You see Franklin tearing himself up, but Marlo tearing other people up. So when it comes down to it, and I think about the seasons and I think about these two characters, Franklin and Marlo, who do I consider to be the more vicious villain? I'm going to let you guys answer down below and you let me know what you think. But I think for this particular argument, these two guys are similar, but I'm just going to have to go with Marlo. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Marlo and say that Marlo was a little bit more vicious to me when it came to these two characters. Both of them deadly. Both of them just out of control at times, ambitious. But when it came to just being pure cold-blooded, I'm going to give that to Marlo. Hey, it's your man, parlowgems. I've given you my argument. You guys let me know, girls let me know down in the comments section what y'all think. Who's the more vicious when it comes to these two kingpins? Franklin Saint or Marlo Stanfield? Make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on my next one. Peace.